Hello and good afternoon, everyone. You are watching our Thursday update from Amara Media Corporation English, broadcasting live from the regional capital, Bahir Dar, Ethiopia. And I'm Johannes Lijalem with the news. South Sudan Foreign Affairs Minister James Morgan said that the victory of Adwa was not only for Ethiopia, but it was a victory for Africa. It was a wake-up call for all Africans to stand up and fight for their rights. In an exclusive interview with Ethiopia News Agency, the foreign minister noted that Adwa was a victory for Africa. We are all proud as Africans. According to Morgan, Adwa victory was a wake-up call for all Africans to stand up and fight and to end oppression.
Adwa victory was not only for Ethiopia, it was a victory for Africa. It was a wake-up call for Africans to stand up and fight for their rights. And the Adwa victory will remain a memory that will continue to be celebrated by generations and generations, because it was a victory of dignity of the African people. Ethiopians represented the African people in the battle of victory in Adwa. So we will join Ethiopians in the celebration, whether physically for those of our people who are here in Ethiopia, or we will celebrate spiritually when we are far away from you people of Ethiopia.
The foreign minister said that the victory of Adwa will remain a memory that continues to be celebrated from generation to generation, because it was the victory of the dignity of African people.
The spirit of Adwa was the unity of the Ethiopian people that brought that victory. So the unity of Ethiopian people remains a key to the success of Ethiopia since then. And it is the same now, and it will be the same forever. Unity of Ethiopian people is what we celebrate in Adwa victory.
Ethiopians across the nation will celebrate the 128th anniversary of the victory of Adwa with various ceremonies this coming Saturday. African journalists told Ethiopian News Agency that the Adwa victory is icon of freedom, source of pride, and symbol of independence for all black people across the globe. Ethiopian forces in the Battle of Adwa 128 years ago made a landmark history by triumphing over the Italian colonial army. The victory of Adwa is celebrated annually on the 2nd of March, not only by Ethiopians, but also by the black people all over the world. Journalists from Ghana, Niger, Senegal stated that Adwa's victory represents independence, pride, freedom from all the black people of the world. Let's have a look.
That victory for us symbolizes the strength that we have as African people to be resilient, to be powerful, and to tell the world that this is indeed the future. We will have the youngest population across the world. We will be the most populous continent across the world, and we will be the resource-rich Africa that we always used to be. So this is the time for us to continue to look at that victory of Adwa and to say that let that be the symbol, the torch that will continue to burn and to showcase to the world that we are resilient as an African people, and Ethiopia, together with Ghana and other African countries, can indeed hold that fight and to complete the work that was started by our forebears of pushing Pan-Africanism.
It's a victory on barbarian, victory on colonization, showing the powerful of African people, and it's a pride. I want this language, which is a very important one because of all I said, to be in the official language of African Union. I don't need to be from Ethiopia to fight for this. I am African. All the languages are important, and this one very, very one, because we have some alphabets in Africa which disappear because of all the invaders.
I do know that a museum, the Adwa Museum, just been open, and which is great. I really applaud Ethiopia for this. Ethiopian people have been among the most resilient people there are in Africa. Through your history, we can all say that Ethiopians are one of the most fierce and resilient people, one of the few countries that's never been colonized. That shows exactly how much of character Ethiopian people are. And that's something that we should celebrate.
Those of us in Ghana, and for those of us who've been pro-Pan-Africanism because of the disposition of our country, we have always found Ethiopia as that bastion and a representation of African unity. In the 60s, when the Casablanca groups and everybody was forming their, cohorts and caucuses to try and digest this whole Pan-Africanism idea and where we should go, it was here in Ethiopia in the 60s that all of Africa came together and say, let's settle all of our differences and form this organization that we see today, the African Union.
A senior official at the Global Green Growth Institute underscored that Ethiopia's tree planting initiative and the government's resolve to combat climate change is what the world exactly needs to avert the current global challenges related to climate change. Burhanu Yismail has the details of this story.
Recall that Ethiopians have embarked on an ambitious campaign of planting billions of trees every year in an effort to achieve a greener and cleaner environment and tackle the adverse effects of climate crisis. So far, the country has planted more than 32.5 billion trees through the Green Legacy initiative launched by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed in 2019. Deputy Director General and Head of Green Growth Planning and Implementation at Global Green Growth Initiative, Helena MacLeod, commended the efforts of the government to reduce impacts of climate change and expressed keenness to work with Ethiopia. In an exclusive interview with INA, Helena MacLeod says that Ethiopia plays a leading role in Africa in terms of climate action, and that is a role the country has been meeting for many years. MacLeod, who visited Ethiopia recently, also said that Ethiopia is one of the most beautiful countries she had visited in the world. Noting that the country has been suffering from climate change, MacLeod said the tree planting program is very significant in tackling these challenges as it creates jobs and increases the fertility of the soil. Moreover, MacLeod stated that the efforts being carried out in Ethiopia will also protect cities in the proper way from flooding.
The tree planting program is very significant because it's going to be a win-win. Yes, it will absorb carbon from the atmosphere, but also it will create jobs and it will increase the fertility of the soil, and it will also protect cities, if it's done in the proper way, from flooding. So planting trees is a really excellent way to reduce flooding, which is affecting many people, households and cities in Ethiopia. So planting trees has many different advantages, including potentially biodiversity as well. So the tree planting program and the government's ambition is exactly what the world needs, and it's leading in that sense.
According to the Deputy Director, Ethiopia is a country before and now is not emitting very much carbon. There are other countries in the world that are emitting much larger amounts of carbon, and have made commitments to reduce the amount of carbon emissions. What we're trying to do in Global Green Growth Initiative is attract climate finance to our member countries, MacLeod said, adding that often our member countries don't have enough money to tackle the major challenges that are facing the economy, but also they don't have enough capacity to take advantage of the opportunities. On green bonds, for instance, in 2021, the organization supported Peru to issue the largest sustainable green bonds in the world at that point in history. That was for over $4 billion. Since the Global Green Growth Initiative is working with over 20 different countries on different types of bonds, sustainability bonds and green bonds. In terms of carbon trading, this is a really high potential area to bring in some additional funding into the country, and Global Green Growth Initiative works with Ethiopia to make sure that the trade is fair for the country and its interests.
I just want to say that Ethiopia is such an important country. It's a continental leader. It has a very strong global voice. Your government is very committed with very ambitious targets, including on restoration of land, increasing yield, increasing food security and exporting crops as well, and on the trees. And we love working with the government, and we will walk hand in hand with the government and the people of Ethiopia on this green growth transition.
Global Green Growth Initiative, an international organization focused on promoting sustainable economic growth in developing countries, has been working closely with Ethiopia since it became a founding member in 2012.
You're watching the news from Amara Media Corporation English as we proceed to news beyond borders. The International Criminal Court orders reparations for victims of Ugandan rebel commander. Judges on Wednesday granted reparations for more than 52 million euros to thousands of victims of convicted commander in the shadow Ugandan rebel group, the Lord Resistance Army. Dominic Ongwen was found guilty of 61 war crimes and crimes against humanity by the International Criminal Court in February 2021. The nearly 50,000 victims covered by the order included former child soldiers, children born as a result of rapes and forced pregnancies. The court also awarded collective community reparations, as reported by Africa News. The world generated 2.3 billion tons of municipal waste last year, and the pile of trash is set to grow another 2/3 by 2050. The United Nations warned of devastating costs for health, economics, and the environment. According to new research by the United Nations Environment Programme, pollution is set to escalate, with projections suggesting the greatest growth in rubbish that will be in regions that are rely on open dumping and burning practices that emit greenhouse gases and leak toxic chemicals into soils and waterways and the air. Without urgent action, the waste mountain is expected to grow to 3.8 billion tons by the middle of the century, according to the estimate, which exceeds previous forecasters. It is also suggested that the economic burden will almost double when the hidden costs linked to poor waste disposal from pollution, poor health and climate change are taken into account, reaching some $340 billion by the year 2050 from around $361 billion in 2020, as reported by CGTN. This is all we have for today. Thank you for your company and have a splendid afternoon with the rest of Amara Media Corporation English programs.